Dominus Cinephile.
Welcome to my movie and TV series reviews, where I will provide honest opinions of the latest releases. If the movie or TV series is a hit or a miss, be sure to know I will inform you. But if the movie or series is trash, be also sure to know that I will trash the hell out of the movie. I am Dominus Cinephile.
And the movie on the review table today is the Nollywood film Tokunbo. Tokunbo is a 2024 action thriller drama written by Tokunbo Adegoke and Thekla Uzozie and directed by Ramsey Noah. The cast features a lineup of Nollywood stars, including Gideon Okeke, Funlola Aofiyebi-Raimi, Chidi Mokeme, Adunni Majide Michael, Stanley Funnybone, Shibuna, Tosin Adeyemi, Ivy Okujaye, Nobert Young, and Darasimi Nadi. The movie premiered on Netflix on August 23, 2024. Tokunbo tells the story of a tough Lagos native named Tokunbo, who, after years of working in the car smuggling business for a notorious street thug named Gaza, decides to leave that life behind and focus on his family. He becomes an Uber driver, working tirelessly to save enough money for his one-year-old child's surgery. His desperate situation takes a turn when Agba, a powerful cryptocurrency trader and deputy governor of the central bank, offers him a deal that could solve all his financial problems if he agrees to do one last job. The job, which demands his smuggling expertise, requires Tokunbo to deliver Neke, the abducted 12-year-old daughter of the CBN governor, to the Badagry border within 3 hours. This must be done amid a rigorous police search that has flooded the streets of Lagos. Neke was kidnapped as leverage to prevent the regulation of cryptocurrency in Nigeria, which is set to be officially announced that evening at 7 p.m. on national TV by the CBN governor Folashade. Tokunbo now finds himself entangled in a dangerous web of crime, forced to choose between saving his wife, their only child, or the CBN governor's daughter. Before watching this movie, I took some time to view the trailer, because a friend had recommended it to me. As I watched, I recognized some familiar faces among the cast, including some big Nollywood stars. With such a promising lineup, I hoped the movie would be worth the time I was about to invest. Honestly, there were elements of the movie that I enjoyed, and I noticed significant improvement in Ramsey Noah's direction. The shots and camera work were impressive, showing a marked advancement from his previous films. His cinematic handling of certain scenes was top-notch. The aerial drone shot during the police chase with the helicopter, though brief, was beautifully executed. It was clear that considerable effort was put into the cinematography, and the meticulous planning behind most scenes deserves applause. I appreciated the picture quality, particularly the color tones, which gave the movie a gritty feel that enhanced the overall quality and viewing experience. In one sentence, the backbone of this film, the element that held it together, was its cinematography. That being said, let's now dive into the aspects of the movie that fell flat. While I commend the director for his meticulous attention to the cinematography, it's clear that he neglected or overlooked some key elements, causing the movie to stumble in ways we've come to expect from a Nollywood action thriller. Let's begin with the script and plot centered around the character Tokunbo. The writers focus on Tokunbo, who, while distressed over his wife's pregnancy, delivers illegal cars, popularly known as Tokunbo cars in Nigeria, to a dangerous thug named Gaza. After witnessing Gaza's brutality, Tokunbo decides to leave the criminal life behind and focus on his wife, Lisa, and their newborn son, Chris. The story then jumps 18 months ahead, where Tokunbo's son is seriously ill and hospitalized. Tokunbo works as an Uber driver to make ends meet and ensure Chris receives the necessary treatment. Struggling to raise the funds, Tokunbo returns to Gaza, but Gaza refuses to help him. Shortly after, Gaza receives a call about a new illegal job, and he mentions he has the perfect person for it, indirectly referring to Tokunbo. After leaving Gaza, Tokunbo returns to his Uber driving. The plot thickens when, on one of his trips, he discovers a cell phone someone left behind in his car. The phone belongs to a transporter who delivers illegal goods to anonymous clients in exchange for large sums of money. Desperate for cash to save his son, Tokunbo decides to assume the role of the unknown transporter. His situation becomes even more dangerous when he is tasked with transporting Nneka, the kidnapped daughter of Falashade, who is the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria in this movie, to Badagry border. The frustrating truth about Tokunbo's story and plot, centered on car smuggling and the kidnapping of the CBN governor's daughter, is that crucial elements of the narrative were left underdeveloped by the writers and director. Unlike Hollywood films like the Transporter series or 60 Minutes by Oliver Kiernley, where the action is gripping and the stakes are clear, Tokunbo meanders through its runtime. Just when the audience anticipates an exciting rescue or intense car chase, the movie abruptly ends, leaving viewers disappointed. The writers failed this movie in many ways. The plot holes and incomplete scenes were overwhelming. Most characters lacked depth, and there was little to no detailed backstory. For instance, Tokunbo's shock at discovering Gaza was behind everything made no sense, considering he was present when Gaza received the call about needing someone for a job that was clearly meant for him. Given his past as an illegal car smuggler for Gaza, his surprise at the end feels completely unconvincing. The connection between Gaza and the deputy governor of the central bank, who is the film's villain, is unclear. The film fails to explain how they met. The plot is confusing because it suggests Tokunbo accidentally discovered the order to transport the kidnapped daughter of the CBN governor, despite earlier scenes showing him present when Gaza received the call about the crime. Additionally, the depiction of the kidnapping scene was poorly executed. The moment where Falashade watches the CCTV footage of her daughter's abduction was one of the least convincing portrayals of kidnapping I've seen, with the writers and director seemingly insulting viewers' intelligence with their execution. I couldn't fathom the sheer absurdity and insult to intelligence in the way the kidnapping was portrayed. A man casually walks into the dressing room where Falashade's daughter is after her swimming class, sedates her, then carries her out on his shoulder, draped in a towel or cloth without anyone intervening. It's completely nonsensical. Another puzzling aspect of the movie is the villain's motive for kidnapping the CBN governor's daughter. There's a scene where the governor is in a meeting discussing her office's plans to regulate cryptocurrency, with an announcement scheduled for that evening. She storms out of the meeting only to receive a call informing her that her daughter has been kidnapped and that she must not make the announcement if she wants her daughter to survive. But here's the flaw. What's stopping the governor from simply not making the announcement? Absolutely nothing. The villain's demand lacked any real sense within the movie's plot, and the writers failed to establish a compelling motive for the antagonist. If the announcement isn't made, then what? What does the deputy governor stand to gain from stopping the cryptocurrency regulation? Why is he so desperate to prevent it, and what does he risk losing if the announcement goes through? The writers left numerous loopholes and unfinished plot lines, leaving the story feeling incomplete. I couldn't wrap my head around the sudden, cozy connection between Nneka, the kidnapped daughter of the CBN governor, and her captor, Tokunbo. Their abrupt shift to a friendly relationship was absurdly unrealistic, unless the director intended this movie to be a goofy comedy. How do you justify a kidnapped child warming up to her captor, who repeatedly sedates her and has no intention of taking her to the police or returning her to her parents? It made no sense at all, and by this point, I started to wonder if the writers were under the influence of something. They were obviously smoking cassava leaves when they wrote this script. One aspect of the movie that left me with mixed emotions was the final fight scene between Tokunbo and Gaza. On the cinematic side, the director did a commendable job. The color palette was spot on, the lighting was excellent, and the gritty atmosphere made perfect sense. The rain effect added a nice touch, so kudos to Ramsey Noah for that. But what on earth was that fight choreography? It was easily one of the most disappointing and laughable fight scenes I've ever seen. It felt like watching Teletubbies attempt a play fight. The fight was beyond lame, it was downright irritating to watch. It's baffling how they could nail the effects, lighting and atmosphere, only to ruin it with such a pathetic fight sequence. I couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry at the absurdity on display. The most irritating part of that scene was when Gaza's men started repeatedly chanting his name, Gaza, 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 throughout the fight. What was the point of all that chanting? Meanwhile, as they foolishly chanted, one of them accidentally dropped a gun which the character played by Adunni picked up and used to shoot Gaza right in front of his men, who just stood there doing nothing. They literally watched their boss get killed without lifting a finger, like a bunch of dumb clowns. Another baffling aspect of the movie occurs during the car chase scene when the police pursue Tokunbo and Nika. In an attempt to evade capture, Tokunbo drives the car off a bridge and into the lagoon. This takes place in broad daylight, around midday. Strangely, after the car plunges into the lagoon, the pursuing officers all park their cars and stand on the bridge, doing nothing. The next scene shows the car being lifted from the lagoon, with no indication that the police conducted any search to check if the occupants were alive. This is where the movie becomes both incredibly funny and insulting. Tokunbo emerges from the lagoon carrying Nika late at night. I literally screamed when I saw this scene. How long were Tokunbo and Nika submerged in the lagoon? Even Michael Phelps couldn't stay underwater for that long. The questions raised by this scene are numerous. Why didn't the police search for Tokunbo under the bridge immediately after the car went into the lagoon? How did Tokunbo and Nika survive, considering they were underwater for what seemed like from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m? It just doesn't make sense. Towards the end of the movie, when the villain is finally captured and the CBN governor learns that her deputy governor was behind her daughter's kidnapping, it is announced that Nika is dead. Folashade confronts the deputy governor, demanding to know why he did this, now that her only daughter is supposedly dead. The ridiculous part of the scene is that right after declaring her daughter dead, Folashade immediately states that Nika is alive. How can her daughter be both dead and alive at the same time? The scene was confusing and poorly executed. Even if Nika were alive, how would the mother know, given that the police hadn't confirmed it? As I mentioned before, the writers clearly missed the mark with this script, while the inconsistencies were just too glaring. Let's briefly discuss the actors' performances in this movie. The acting in Tokunbo had its highs and lows. Some actors delivered well, particularly in the first act. However, as the film progresses into the second act, it becomes apparent that the director isn't fully invested in exploring the acting range of his cast. By the time you reach the third act, it's clear that the actors have little left to offer, as the director seems more focused on the movie's visual style and atmosphere than on the performances themselves. Gideon Okeke stars as Tokunbo, and as the lead actor, he delivers a commanding performance, arguably the best I've seen from him in a movie. Unlike some of his previous roles, he didn't overact. His mannerisms were spot on in most scenes. Although his dialogue was simple, and his fight with Gaza was one of the weaker aspects of his role, his overall performance was strong, and he deserves recognition for it. Well done, Gideon. Funlola Aofiyebi-Raimi plays Folashade, the CBN governor whose daughter is kidnapped. As I mentioned in my review of the movie Criminal, in which she also starred, Funlola's performance tends to be repetitive across her films. She lacks the versatility to differentiate the characters she portrays, making her roles feel predictable. In my opinion, the casting director should have chosen someone else for this role. There's nothing new from Funlola in this movie. Once again, she plays a strong-willed female character with impeccable diction, but her facial expressions and acting remain unchanged. Her character in this film is almost identical to her role in Criminal, with the only differences being the character's name and profession. While her performance here was adequate, I found it hard to be invested in her character due to her limited acting range. Chidi Mokeme plays Gaza, and the moment his character appears on screen, it's clear that you've seen him play this role before. Like Funlola Aofiyebi-Raimi, Chidi's portrayal of Gaza is as repetitive as it gets. There's no difference between this character and the one he played in Shantytown. Gaza is essentially just Scar with a different name. His costume, mannerisms, acting style, and facial expressions are identical. Casting Chidi in this role feels like a lazy choice by the casting director. Like Funlola, Chidi Mokame's performance here lacks the range or dynamism needed to distinguish Gaza from his previous roles. With his limited screen time, his performance offers nothing new or memorable. Majide plays Raymond, the deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the villain, Agba, who orchestrates the kidnapping of Folashade's daughter. Like many Nollywood villains, his character didn't come across as a convincing antagonist. His motive for kidnapping the CBN governor's daughter was weak and unconvincing. What made even less sense was that he personally handled the planning, execution, and even the phone calls to the girl's mother. A movie like this needs a strong, sinister villain who delegates the dirty work to others. Unfortunately, Majide's performance fell flat, lacking the commanding presence required for a villain of this caliber. Despite some well-shot scenes involving him, his portrayal simply wasn't menacing enough for the role. In summary, Tokunbo fails to live up to expectations. While the movie excels in some aspects, particularly in its cinematography, it falls short overall. Although the visuals are commendable and the director made impressive efforts in that area, his work couldn't compensate for the film's shortcomings. The script is riddled with plot holes and lacks coherence, and the characters are poorly developed with minimal backstory. The performances from the actors are weak, with many repeating roles they've played in previous films. With only the cinematography and the lead actor serving as redeeming features, Tokunbo offers little beyond its visual appeal and fails to provide an engaging viewing experience. And now for my rating. Despite its strong visuals, Tokunbo scores a disappointing 3 out of 10. I'm definitely trashing this. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon for notifications. Also, be sure to follow me on TikTok, WhatsApp channel, and Instagram at Domino's Cinephile for more movie and TV series reviews. Domino's Cinephile, signing out.